Hello, welcome. Francis here. Thank you for coming back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I bid you welcome. There is a subscribe button below if you would like to help support this channel by subscribing, and also a bell to be notified as to when I upload more content. I'm coming to you from Ghana country, and as such, I acknowledge the Ghana people of the Adelaide Plains as being the traditional custodians of this land. So I've been a little bit late in putting this video together in relation to the new moon solar eclipse that's coming up in a few days, but a bit late than never. So it's going to be 10 degrees, 3 minutes of Libra here in Adelaide, South Australia. It will be taking place on Thursday, the 3rd of October at 4:19 a.m. in the morning. Depending on where you are in the world, it will be could be taking place on the 2nd of October. Now, we won't actually see it here. If you are in the south of North America, much of South America, the Pacific, Atlantic, Antarctica, you could see the eclipse. But from here in Adelaide, we will certainly be feeling the energetics, which commence about 12 minutes past 1 in the morning and end around about 17 minutes past 7 a.m. So it's an annular eclipse, which means that because it's also a micro moon, where the moon is at its furthest part on the ecliptic, when the moon gets between the sun and the earth, because it's so far out, it doesn't completely block out the sun, so there'll be like this ring around the silhouette of the moon. It will also be a rather strong eclipse because of the other transits that I'll get to in a moment. But if you are a new moon manifester, and I do know that the astrologers are already talking about what to manifest, I personally don't like to do anything when it's an eclipse because of the energies are so unpredictable. But if you do, just keep in mind that there's unpredictability about. So, and also eclipses are permanent. They're about permanent change. So this is another reason why I don't do anything around new moons at the eclipse time. It's about transformation. And it's also these energetics that are coming up is what we will be feeling for the next 6 months. And when there's the eclipses, this means that the moon is close to the nodes. Now, with the full moon lunar eclipse that we had a couple of weeks ago, that was on the north node, which is the future direction. This new moon is on the south node. The south node is all about our karmic past, what we've been through, what we've brought through in this incarnation. So it's all about endings. It's about looking at what needs to be released and surrendered in order to allow the new to come through. So it's almost not quite a manifesting moon. It's more about sort of closing things out, bringing things back into balance because of the Libra aspect. If you have your natal chart, birth chart, look to see where 10 degrees of Libra is, because this will give you an idea, especially of the house, as to what could be highlighted in your own life. And it doesn't matter really if you have no planets or points in your chart, because the house will still be activated. If you have your ascendant, which is the sign that was rising when you were born, your sun, even your midheaven, in conjunction with the solar eclipse, then according to Pam Gregory, this could very well be a time of prominence for you, where you will suddenly come into greater success and recognition. As I said, eclipses are very unpredictable. They're a little bit like a wild card. And they can also make things move very quickly. So this is another reason why having a look at your natal chart might give you some indications. You might even feel these energies rising already. And just pay attention as to what is coming up, what themes are coming up. it is quite interesting because this is actually the last eclipse on this axis of Libra and Aries. We've had, well, the North nodes will be moving in January next year. So again, this is sort of like ending things out as well. And then we've got all the Libran aspects to it as well, because Libra is the scales. So again, what is in balance in your life? What isn't in balance in your life? Libra has a tendency of sort of wanting to keep the peace. So in doing that and not rocking the boat, they seem to default to the other, doing things that everybody else wants to do, putting themselves last, not speaking out when something upsets them or they want to do something differently. They go with the flow. Now, that might be their choice, but it could also mean that they don't have this sort of courage or this desire to sort of stand up for themselves as well. So Libra, especially at the eclipse, is about boundaries. It's about stepping into your own sovereignty, bringing back your power that you have given out because you don't want to, you're the peacemaker. You want to keep things balanced and everybody happy. But in doing that, often you self-sacrifice. There's also another aspect of Libra where you compare yourself externally to other people. I know I definitely do that, and I have to look at my chart to see where what house Libra is in to see why I do that. And when we do that, especially a lot, we are exerting our energy externally as opposed to internally and raising our vibration up that way. So with it being on the South Node and the last eclipse for this portal on this axis, it's been the South Node has been in Libra since July 2023. So in January next year, it'll move. This also means there's an ending, sort of this energy is beginning to fade out. And we may even be aware of blockages beginning to fade as well. So it's about refocusing back onto ourselves as opposed to the other. And this in itself could raise up feelings of discomfort, connecting back to our personal power, our sovereignty, that we have disempowered our own selves due through our self-sacrifice, that realization. And also depending on the relationships we have with other people that we do this for, when we start saying no, and they're not expecting it, or, especially from us, that can cause a bit of a jolt. But with Libra being an air sign, this is sort of where we can tap into that aspect and maybe saying, hey, I can't organize the lunch or the catch up this month. Can you do it? Or would you do that? Sort of putting the ball back into their court and allowing them to make that decision. Just a suggestion. So there are a lot of sort of energetics with this eclipse as well, this new moon. It's conjunct with the asteroid black moon Lilith, which is at 10 degrees, and also Mercury, which is at 11 degrees of Libra. So we have the moon, the sun, the south node, black moon Lilith, and Mercury, all in Libra, and also all squaring Mars, which is in Cancer at 15 degrees. So Mars being in Cancer is going to give us sort of like that encouragement to maybe step back into our power again, that uplifting thing. It could assist us to say no, but just be careful because it is a bit of a fiery energy that we use sort of, we don't get things too heated. And I'll talk a little bit more because, maybe I'll talk about it now, because Mars actually is spending a little bit more time in Cancer than what is usual for it because it's going to get turned retrograde. And it's also squaring to Chiron, which is our wounded healer, which is at 21 degrees of Aries, being close to the North Node. So as I said, the North Node is all about the future direction. Chiron is at the wounded healer. So it's sort of like there's emphasis on the South, which is Aries, the South, and our deepest wound, which is all about Chiron, but healing from that deepest wound in order to bring that gift up to move us forward. So Mars is going to enter its retrograde shadow on the 5th of October, so that's just a few days after the eclipse, and then go completely retrograde on the 6th of December, and it'll be moving back into Leo before it stations direct in February next year. And this means that we'll get a little bit of a preview of this retrograde energies, which have the sort of Arian North Node qualities about it, which is all about forging a new path. It's sort of speaking out with confidence, moving forward, being encouraged, being courageous and bold. So pioneering spirit. And then when we bring Libra into the picture, we're looking at our own energy and also looking at the energy exchange. If we are defaulting to the other, what do we actually get back in return? Are our own needs being met? If not, we will be encouraged by Mars to sort of reset our boundaries, stand up for ourselves, to sort of embrace or embody these energetics that are associated with this Martian energies. And this is something that will be playing out over the next 6 months. But as I said, it's a little bit, I wouldn't say a warning, but we just need to be mindful that we are doing this in a way that is not aggressive, because Mars can also be aggressive as well. So I mentioned that the new moon is conjunct black moon Lilith. It's an asteroid at 10 degrees of Libra. And this is interesting because black moon Lilith is connected with a sort of revolutionary feminine power. It's all about sort of standing up for the suppressed or the oppressed, those who are being abused, whether it's children, people, minorities, planets, Earth, animals, etc. She's connected with female rage. She stands up. She doesn't really like being told what to do, especially when it's not in alignment with her own embodied truth. And in the Hebrew or the Judaic story, she refused to submit to Adam. She was Adam's first wife. So she left the Garden of Eden and went off to the Red Sea, where she out with some demons. So she has that sort of, again, that fiery, very independent energy, but very much in alignment. She knows who she is, her own power. So this is what is conjunct with this new moon too, sort of like encouraging us to sort of step into our own sovereignty, reassess our boundaries again. We've also got Mercury, which is at 11 degrees of Libra. So Mercury is all about communication, travel, contracts, our belief systems, our thoughts, our self-expression. And it's sort of emphasizing a turning point at this eclipse where we may be using our voice more in our communications, again, sort of like standing up, speaking our truth. Maybe we're sort of beginning to sort of change our belief systems or understanding, realizing that the beliefs that we may have had, our thought systems that we may have sort of like brought through in a previous incarnation, are no longer in alignment with us. So we're finding this urge to speak out more and more about what we deeply believe in on a more soul level. Again, not happy to just simply stand back and keep the peace. But as I said, this is still square to Mars, and so it's important that we're mindful about the fiery energy, making sure that it's channeled in a more positive way. as opposed to a negative way where it can actually be very detrimental. So what else is happening at this new moon? There is quite a lot of it. Molly McLeod talks about a watery grand cross. So we've got Venus at 11 degrees 46 minutes of Scorpio, trining Mars at 15 degrees of Cancer, also trining Saturn, which is retrograde in Pisces. These are all watery signs, indicating it's sort of this emotional, feminine, sort of flowing energies that sort of guiding us. And especially if we've been out of balance with our masculine and feminine energies, with our sort of been too much in our head as opposed to our body, been too much in the intellect as opposed to the emotional state. So it could be a good time at this eclipse to sort of feel into the flows of the energies. And the cross is the sun and the moon and Mercury being conjunct in Libra in the north and the south node. Then we've got Venus. And this is actually causing this grand trine. Venus, of course, is the ruling planet of Libra. And it's sort of showing us the energetic signature of this eclipse, with Venus being in Scorpio. It could be about rising issues around self-worth, again, coming into balance. It can also be connected with trust issues, maybe feeling that you do not feel that you're worth it. It's also indicating taking more of an ownership around your own personal emotional needs, even where you see your needs being met by others, if they're acceptable or not acceptable. And it's quite interesting because there is a big sort of theme about trust as well, especially in relationships, and asking us to sort of look at what is stopping us moving forward in relationships, especially when there is an element of trust. So Saturn being retrograde in Pisces, this could actually bring up soul lessons that we have, basically we've got to experience in this lifetime to move through. But this watery grand trine can also sort of ask us or open up for us the gifts of new spiritual gifts, of deeper understandings, more sort of intuitive psychic awareness. Again, these watery themes of Pisces. Saturn also reminds us of the patterns that we no longer need to repeat, especially coming back to the heart. And if you think about it, water is very cleansing. It can clear out what is preventing us from moving on. And I really like this aspect that Molly was talking about in flushing out experiences that we are done with. So there's a bit of a choice that we can make at this eclipse. And again, as I said, we'll be feeling these energies for the next 6 months. So maybe take a few days or a few days out to sort of feel into the energetics, because they are transformative. They are going to sort of, when we look back, in 6 months down the track, we'll actually see how far we have moved through. And because it's eclipse in Libra, and this happens every 19 years, look back to the last Libran solar eclipse at 10 degrees of Libra, and that was in October 2005. Depending on your age, the eclipse before that was October 1986. Can you remember what was happening in your life then? Because we're seeing the same degree point being activated again and again. if you have your natal chart, again, look at the house that Libra is in. That can give you some clues. Think of what changes were happening in late 2005, early 2006. Where do you need the support of Libra or Libran areas in your life? And what is actually being reflected back at you from other people as well? And Molly makes another really interesting point that on a collective level, there are many generations that have outer planets in Libra, whether it's Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto. And these energetics have been working on those generations with respect to changing understandings when it comes to relationships, especially in our modern world. And even if you think, well, even if I think about it in my own lifetime, the rules, the boundaries, how we view relationships, partnerships, so they don't need to be intimate relationships, family dynamics, has changed so much. So then we have a generation or a couple of generations of people that have these outer planets in Libra. So it is interesting eclipse, shall we say. These eclipses are powerful endings, but there's also an element, because on the new moon, of beginnings to come through. But it's almost like we need to have this sort of clear out. Again, I seem to be repeating myself every video I do, of the old in order for the new to come through. So we need to be mindful and intentional with respect to the energetics that we bring into our life, especially if you're going to be manifesting at this new moon. I'm not saying that you can't be, just to be more mindful. And there's going to be a focus on relationships. Look at areas where maybe you are overcompromised, where you've been giving too much of yourself, getting nothing back in return. Draw on that energy of Mars and Cancer to reinforce your boundaries and actually start standing up and speaking your own truth. So I hope you find this video of interest. Please check out Pam Gregory and Molly McCord's videos below, because they have been the inspiration of this summary, I guess you can say. Pam Gregory also mentions something about Russia, but I think that is in relation to Saturn next year. And she makes some really interesting points there. So you might, if you're interested to see what could be indicating or happening in Russia in the next wee while, I want to check that out. Put some comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. That way you do help support my work. And take care and see you on the other side of this eclipse portal. Blessings.